the sacrifices I make for you people because I had to turn off my air to do this video and it's hot. So be appreciative. Thanks so much. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie, and in today's video I am doing a reading wrap-up, recent reads, what have you, whatever you call it, because if you're new to my channel, hi, hello, thank you for stopping by, but I don't do monthly wrap-ups because I don't read books enough in the month to do a wrap-up, so I usually do it every other month. So for this one I am doing books that I read in May and in June. So I think there was a total of 7 books, and for some people that's not a lot, okay? I get that. Some people read that in a week, and I don't know how you do it. Y'all are superheroes, but that's just not me.
I don't know her.
Okay? So we're trying to do quality over quantity here, and I don't even want to look at my Goodreads goal because it's not even close to where it should be. I'm like 8 behind. It's fine. It's fine. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about the books that I read starting at the beginning of May, working my way up. It's the last book that I read at the end of June. I'll give you my rating, what I liked about it, a little bit about the book. I never do any spoilers. Triggers, I do, triggers, it's such a triggering word, isn't it? Sometimes I feel like triggers are spoilers because I have read some books that I knew the trigger going in, and that was a spoiler for the book. So here's what I'm going to do. I always, if the book has a trigger, I will put it down in the description, and if you are interested in the book, you can go and look yourself, because I don't want to spoil the book for people because that's no fun. So there, that's my spiel. So let's just get into my most recent reads. Okay, so the first book that I read was called Confessions, and I'm going to butcher this author's name, and I am so sorry. But I think it's like Kanae, Minato. Look, I'm not pronouncing that right. It is what it is. But this is a thriller. This book is just unhinged. Okay, there's only 6 chapters in this book, and every chapter is following a different point of view, and it is just mind-blowing. So we're following a teacher at the end of the school year. And she is telling her class that she is going to retire and she's done teaching. And they ask her if it's because of what happened this past year. And you find out that her daughter, who was like 4 or 5, was murdered. And murdered by someone in the class. And the teacher knows who. So she is telling her story in chapter 1. And chapter 1 ends with a plot twist. We go to chapter 2, which is now following a different point of view, and we learn a little bit more about the story. And that chapter ends in a plot twist. We go to chapter 3, and that chapter ends, every chapter ends with a plot twist, except for even chapter 6 ends in a plot twist, but it's the end of the story, so it like wraps it all up. But this book, okay, it's so good. It's not long. It's 6 chapters. I listened to it on audio coming to and from work. It was so good. It was so good. Like, sometimes I just need a thriller. Like, every once, because that's where my love, like, started. I love those thrillers. So, like, when I go back to them, I'm like, that's why I love them. Because it just blows your mind when you read these books. It is just so good. So, if you haven't read it, do yourself a favor and read it. Because, honestly, it's so good. I ended up giving Confessions 5 stars. Duh. Because it was so good. And then the next book that I read was Rewrite Our Story by Singleton. I had an arc for this, so I was very excited to read this because I had read one of her books previously. I read Founded on Deception, which is one of her rock star romances, and I loved it, so I was very excited to get to read this one. But this one is a small town, second chance, best friends, older brother romance. It's hitting all the tropes, okay? It's just hitting all the tropes. So in this book, we are following Cade and Marigold. Cade and Marigold have always lived close to each other in this small town. Marigold is his sister Pippa's best friend. And at the beginning of the book, Marigold's mother passes away. And she needs comfort. She needs somebody. So whenever anything ever happens, she goes to Pippa's house, and she tries to call for Pippa, but Pippa's asleep and she's just not waking up. I think she was 10 at the time. Yeah, because I think Cade's like 13. She goes to Cade's room, and he sees that she's upset, so he brings her in, and they just lay in bed, and he just holds her. And then as they get older, it's just how they always work. They're always there for each other. And when she's around, I want to say like 17, 18, 16, maybe 16, he starts seeing her a little differently. You know how it is. And they develop like this romance, and then something happens. And then years go by, and she has to come back to the town to help Pippa and Cade because their mother passed away. So that's the premise of the story. It's told in dual timelines, so we get the point of view of when they're younger and also when they're older, and it flashes back to now. And I'm pretty sure it's dual POV. I cannot remember, but I'm pretty sure it is. And there is a scene in this book. Oh my God. There is a scene, and it's in the barn, and that lives rent free in my head. It was so good. But I loved this. She's writing the second book now, which is going to be Pippa's story. And we get a little tidbit in this story about Pippa and her love interest, which is like its enemies to lover. It's going to be so good. Oh, I highly recommend this book. It was so good. Plus, the cover is gorgeous. The cover is gorgeous. Did I give this one 5 stars? I'm pretty sure I did. I did. 5 stars. And then we're going from so then I also got an arc for Liars Like Us by J.T. Geissinger, and this just didn't hit. This just didn't do it for me. Like, I wanted to love this book. I really did. But it was just like a 3.5, 4-star for me. So this is book 1 in her new series, the Morally Gray series. So in this book, we're following Emery. Emery is a bookstore owner, and a big corporate bookstore is moving in beside her. So think like Barnes & Noble. She's a mom and pop store. This is Barnes & Noble. She's like, well, that's it. I'm done. There's no way we're going to be able to keep paying rent and make sales and all this. So she takes her employees out for a dinner to kind of tell them like, hey, this is the last hurrah. I can't keep the store open. I'm sorry. And our hero is at the restaurant and overhears her. So the next day he comes in and he's like, I have a proposition for you. And she's like, okay, who are you? What do you mean? And he's like, we should get married. And she's like, okay, so you're crazy. And he tells her like, hey, I have an inheritance that I need to get, but I can only get if I'm married. I overheard that, your store is going under and you need money. So at first he was going to give her 10 million, but I think after all the negotiations, she gets like 20 million out of the deal. So this is definitely a marriage of convenience trope. However, this is a JT book, so like there's a plot twist. But the plot twist didn't do anything for me in this book. Like when I read Pen Pal, when I read Perfect Strangers, there was just, you're going to get a plot twist in these books, and this one just didn't hit. I'm like, I
might not go back in. I'm going to go home actually.
I was like, okay, that's great. That's that plot twist. But it was still a good time. Like this, of course, the steamy scenes were good. Maybe if I would have read more of her books in her previous series, because if you read the acknowledgments, she kind of does a little talking about like how universes are going to collide and like combine, and you're going to see people from the past. And I've only read her standalones, so it didn't mean as much to me. So if you haven't read the book, but you read those books, you may enjoy this. And if you have read this book and not the acknowledgement, go read it, because it'll make more sense to you if you've read her other books as well. But like I said, the only thing I feel like would have made this somewhat better is if we would have had dual POV. This is all her point of view, and I feel like I would have got his point of view. I would have enjoyed it more, even if like I don't know, because like if I had his point of view, if I still had his point of view, I still think she could have done the plot twist. I just kind of wanted to know more about him and why he was doing what he was doing. That's not a spoiler, I don't think. So yeah, I just think like it would have been better with dual POVs. So after that, I went back to my thriller roots, and I read a YA thriller called The Obsession by Jessie Q. Sutanto, which I think is technically the author of like four aunties and a wedding and something else. I can't remember, but she does like cozy little mystery books. But this one's a YA thriller. And if you are a fan of You by Carolyn Kepnes and the TV show You, I think you would highly enjoy this because this is basically that in YA form. We are following Logan and what's her name? Delilah. Logan and Delilah. Logan is a psycho. Full-on psycho, okay? This book starts where he's grieving the loss of his last, like, object of his affection. And he sees Delilah, and he's like, oh, never mind. That girl is out of my mind now. Yep, you. Me and you. So he just kind of gets fixated on her and thinks they're soulmates and they're going to be together. But, like, Delilah's different, okay? She's got secrets of her own. You know, she can hold her own. So he's just not, it's not what he's not getting what he expects when he puts his eyes on Delilah. But, like, honestly, I wanted to throw the book sometimes. So I'm like, dude, you're so psycho. Like, you were so psycho. But it was good. Like, YA thrillers for me are like a palate cleanser because they're not going to be deep. They're not going to be too heavy. And they're quick reads. And I can, you know, get in, get out, no harm done. But this was good. It was for what it was. I think I gave it 3.5 stars because, again, it was just a YA thriller and it wasn't. If I was younger, maybe I would have given it more. But for what it was a cute story. It's not a cute story. Don't listen to me. It was good because I do enjoy a good you and a good psychopath, and this is definitely, it gives you that just in YA form. After that, I read On the Rocks by Kandi Steiner, and I gave it 5 stars because how could I not? I love Kandi Steiner. If you're new here, I love her. And if you're not new here, you should know by now that I love her. Love Letter to Whiskey is my favorite book of all time. But I had never read any of her small town. And I was like, it's time. So I started the Becker Brothers series and I loved it. I tabbed a little bit of it. I'm not a tabber for like the most part, but I tabbed a little bit out of that. So in this book, we were following Noah. Noah is one of the Becker brothers. And the Becker brothers are known for just kind of being like the wild children of town, kind of like the bad boys. And our heroine is Ruby Grace. She is the mayor's daughter. She is soon to be betrothed to a very high society guy who is like on the course to being a politician. So like her future is set. So she goes to the winery or the distillery or whatever that Noah works at, and she wants to get like something for her wedding, a wedding gift for her groom. Meets him. She's instantly attracted to him. He's instantly attracted to her, but nothing really comes of it. They become friends first, and it's just a good friends to lovers. And I loved it. And oh my gosh, the ending of it's so good. Like, there's a scene in this that just, if it was a movie, I would laugh hysterically. It's just that good. But I loved this. It's just such a good, he wants to give her everything. Like, he wants her dreams to come true. And I love that about him. We want that. We need that in our real life. So I loved this. And I cannot wait to finish. Like, I am so going to read the rest. I own the rest of the series. I'm going to read them. It was so good. I can't wait to read like the other brothers. I actually think like the next book is like a Romeo and Juliet type retelling, so that'll be fun. But if you have not read these, this is a good summer read too. So like it's a good summer read book. If you haven't, give it a shot. And then after that, I popped my Brittainy Cherry and I read The Air He Breathes. This is book 1 in the Elements series. This was another 5 stars. I love this book. This book is so sad. And I love a good sad book. Like, it's a book that's gonna like get my insides like crying. Even on the outside, I didn't cry when I read this book, but like I had the feels. So in this book, we are following Tristan and Elizabeth. Elizabeth is dealing with the loss of her husband. Tristan is dealing with the loss of his wife and son. So grief is talked about a lot in this book. She moves into town where Tristan lives, and she actually moves in beside him. And he is a grump. He is the definition of grumpy. This is grumpy sunshine. This is grumpy sunshine. And small town. And it's just, I loved the story. Like, they are so beautifully broken. And together they heal. It is just so good. I loved this book so much. There's a few side characters in this book I'd like to, like, you know, punch into next week, but that's besides the point, you know. If you've read it, you know. But if you haven't read this series yet, give it a chance. This one was so good that I, like, did something I never do, and I went right into the second one. And then I read The Fire Between High and Low. This is the second book, and in this one we're following Logan and Alyssa. They meet when they're around 16 years old, and Alyssa is from a well-to-do family, and Logan is from, like, the wrong side of town. His mom is an addict. His father is in and out of their lives. I think his father's is the drug dealer that, like, supplies his mom. So he's from a rough neighborhood, and they meet one day, and they just start talking and become best friends. And that, I think it was when they're 16. And then, like, 2 years go by, and they finally tell each other their feelings. And they have a summer before she goes off to college where they're just together. And then something tragic happens, and 5 years go by. So then we get a time jump in this. We get dual POV. If I did not say, we get dual POV in this one as well. And I think in the Kandi Steiner. I'm just doing a terrible job at this. But there are triggers in this book, which I'll have linked down below. But it was just, this was not as good as this one. This one was a 4.5. What did I get this one? I can't even remember. Let me look at my notes. 4.5. It was still good, but it couldn't top this one. But yeah, it has some very heavy, it deals with a lot of heavy stuff in this book, so check trigger warnings, but it was still very good. But yes, those are the books that I've read. I'm now currently reading second book in the Ravenhood series. I'm doing it, guys. I told you I was going to do it, and I'm doing it, and I'm vlogging it, so you'll have all my reactions to that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what are some of your recent reads, or if you've read any of these books, what did you think of them? I would love for you to tell me so we can have a discussion. Or if you just want to leave me an emoji, leave me the fire emoji, because fire between high and low. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new and would like to join the family. I would love to have you guys. My social media is linked down below. As always, my Goodreads and my Instagram if you want to stay more up to date and day to day with what I am reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys. I don't like to know, it's okay. Sometimes I feel like triggers are spoilers. So I don't like to say some spoilers. However, or triggers. Oh my gosh, let me start over, I'm itching. There's bugs, there's a gnat. Okay. And I can't speak. It's fine. She goes to the winery that Noah works at. Excuse me, sir. You can't shake your head while I'm filming.